Welcome to another edition of Lib and Let Die. Mark, I'm so pleased we finally settled on a name, but we didn't come up with it. It was Mouse.
I know. I mean, you just put us two brains together for what, a year, and we couldn't come up with a name. It's pathetic, really, isn't it? But anyway, we've got one now. Thank you very much, Mouse, our wonderful producer.
And a massive thank you to you, the viewers, because we had our largest ever viewership on the most recent show. Thousands upon thousands of you tuned in to watch us. We hope that wasn't just to mock us. We hope you liked it. And please, if you like what we're doing, like it and share it. We love it when you share our output on your social networks. And it really helps us, because what we're trying to do here is give you a refreshing and honest view about politics from, in my view, a libertarian perspective, and in Mark Oaten's view, from a conservative-ish liberal kind of perspective.
The joke is wearing thin, Lembit. Listen, there's a lot to discuss today. I want to get into why we seem to have a calamity of Labour ministers resigning. The sixth one already resigned last week. Should they resign? Is this some pattern emerging about why they're resigning? Could Starmer just not keep his people? And who's going to be next? I think we need to discuss that, Lembit.
I've got a suggestion on that, which we'll come to in a minute. Then, of course, we have to talk about Trump and Putin. The Trump and Putin show in Alaska. That's an interesting one. I want to talk about whether they're right to exclude Zelensky, if indeed he will be excluded. He'll probably hang around in a hotel next door. That's one of mine. What about you?
Look, sad news just recently. Biddy Baxter, who was the formidable producer of Blue Peter, she's just died. And it got me reminiscing, Lembit. It got me remembering all of those children's TV programs. So I want to ask you a few questions later on about what did you do when you were a teenager? And I mean that in a really nice, innocent way, incidentally.
Doesn't sound like it.
I know. It
came out really awkward the way you said that.
It felt awkward. It really, really did. I won't be getting a Blue Peter badge for that, I'm sure.
Leaving the weird, awkward aside, Bank of England rates, I don't have much to say about them. I don't think
I have a lot to say about them. I've got like mortgages galore, and it's absolute nightmare. So I really want to get into that. Will they now start to settle again, or is there any hope for many, many mortgage savers that there might be more cuts on the way?
Do we have to do your TV recommendations thing, Mark? Do we have to do that?
Yes, we do. I've got a good one this week, and it won't be weird and wonderful like yours, I'm sure.
I'll have to conjure something up for that. Let's start then. Let's start with resignations. And I'm just wondering if this is the beginning of the end, the long kiss goodbye from the Labour government. Just the context here, if you don't follow politics, another minister bit the dust on account of some rather contradictory, and some would say hypocritical actions as a result of her shenanigans as a landlord or landlady, if I'm still allowed to use that word in woke Britain. I think we've got a clip. Can we play the clip on that?
To bring you some breaking news just coming into us, and that is that Rushanara Ali has resigned as Homelessness Minister, saying in a letter to the Prime Minister that remaining in the role would be a distraction from the ambitious work of this government. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, is standing by. John, tell us a bit more about the background leading up to this resignation.
It's a very swift resignation, because it was only today that the I newspaper carried on its front page the story about how the Minister for Homelessness ejected her tenants and then hiked the rent. Now, Rushanara Ali is MP for Bethnal Green and Stepney. Now, she owns a townhouse near her East London constituency. She removed tenants from the house, then relisted the property for £4,000 a month, an extra £700 in rent.
That's shocking. Shocking. Well, I didn't realize it was quite that bad. Even Mr. Craig there was stuttering over his words.
He was stumbling through that broadcast, rather, wasn't he? But look, it's interesting, isn't it? And John Craig made the point that she had resigned super fast. Now, you and I can remember the days when a minister would hang on literally till the last minute. It could go on for weeks or so. The press interest built up. The Prime Minister would come under huge pressure to eventually sack them and resign. Now it seems to me ministers fall on their sword really, really very quickly. And I'm wondering, actually, should they? But let's Lembit take a look at the 6 that have resigned, and maybe we can look at the reasons as well. As we've just been hearing, the homeless minister, well, because she put the rent up after her tenants left. Honestly, that didn't seem like a huge crime. It didn't break any laws as far as I can work out. Then we had Vicky Foxcroft. Well, she resigned on a matter of principle over the welfare cuts. Fair enough. Annalisa Dodds, she was the international aid minister, and she, quite rightly in my view on this case, resigned because she couldn't accept the cuts to her own department. Tulip Siddiq resigned because of allegations of corruption in her family in Bangladesh, although none of them were proven. She still resigned. Andrew Gwynn, this is an interesting one. He resigned as a minister because he got so frustrated with a constituent, he was seen to have written in an email that I hope she dies by the next election. Boom. He had to resign. And then finally, this was the oddest one of all, in my view, Louise High. Before she was elected, she'd reported a phone stolen, but had made a mistake. It hadn't been stolen. And she felt the need to resign on that. Now, it does seem to me, Lembit, that people are resigning on quite minor issues compared to the big bad days when it took a huge scandal before somebody resigned.
I would suggest that it's Louise Haig, and that could be a resignation issue because you said her name wrong. Back when we were in Parliament, people would do the most enormous things, like declaring war on Iraq on a false premise and carrying on being prime minister. These days, you can do a whole ton of stuff, and you only resign if you get found out. That's an interesting thing. Maybe it's always been that way. What I'm wondering, though, some of those resignations were on matters of principle. Now, I'll come back to that in a minute. The others are on matters of hypocrisy. And it seems that Ms. Ali there, or formerly Minister Ali, was the height of hypocrisy. The homelessness minister hiking up rent to £4,000 a month in Bethnal Green. That's not the poshest part of the world. She was making 48 grand a year, £48,000 a year, the homeless minister, when she was saying she was completely behind the idea of capping greedy landlords. Mark, where do they find these people?
I mean, you're right. If she'd been the transport minister or somebody else, then you could probably say fair enough. But it's the juxtaposition between her role in government and actually taking that action. But if you think about the MP who resigned because he said, I just hope a constituent dies. I mean, look, I'm sure for no minute at all did he actually say, I want that constituent to die. But we've been in the job. We know what it's like. It's pressurized. And, you know, there's almost a dark humor that you sometimes have to get you through day by day, dealing with that level of intensity. I can imagine people would say stuff like that and not mean it for a minute. I mean, I don't see the reason why he should have had to have resigned. And if you think about the kind of comments that Gordon Brown, remember, he made about a constituent when he was caught off camera in the back of the cab telling, I think he said, what a dreadful, awful woman she was. He had to go back and apologize. You've got to accept that politicians are human beings as well. We can say and do stupid things. Shouldn't always be a resignation, in my view.
Well, yeah, but the problem is you hoist by your own petard. For those who don't understand it, that means you get hung in the French Revolution after hanging other people. And that's the problem here. The Labour Party, with their sanctimonious, woke, self-righteous indignation about other people, they've caused this quagmire for themselves. Lauren Edwards MP, as I never fail to remind you, described my Estonian countrymen as, and I can't say the whole thing, those effing Estonian retards, but she said it in full. Well, she should resign on this basis.
Oh, for goodness sake, Len, but you're falling into the trap of this sort of woke culture that people can say and do things and they immediately have to resign. We see the same thing now on television. We see the same thing with sports people, a misused text, a misused phrase, and all of a sudden everyone's clamoring for their resignation. It is ridiculous, this culture of not forgiving. People make mistakes. They say things and do things they don't mean. They should not be forced to resign. I'm surprised at you. I thought you'd be agreeing with me.
Yeah, I do agree with you. You know, I'm an intense libertarian. I know the things you said about me behind my back when I was helping you. I was helping you, and you left the country without telling me once when you were mired in a scandal. How dare you?
You have to leave the country to escape Lembit at times.
Do you know what really offended me? That ridiculous headgear that you had on. and you're caught in the airport. It was awful. Anyway, the thing is that bigoted woman. Well, that wasn't the end of Gordon Brown. But the problem is, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I'm not sympathetic to Labour. I'll be more sympathetic if Labour says, we've completely overdone the woke, guys. Really sorry about that. We'll stop preaching about 14 wasted years by the Tories because we're actually worse than they are. And that's the thing. Who's going to be next to resign?
Well, I don't know. But look, what's interesting is you think about someone like John Prescott. He punched a voter live on television. He didn't resign. In fact, the public warmed to him. They could see his human side. Part of the appeal about Nigel Farage is they actually get a sense that, you know what, the guy is real. He has a cigarette. He drinks. Anne Widdecombe, not a fan, but you know what? She tells it as it is. And so maybe we need to have our politicians being allowed to be more human. And with being more human comes the mistakes and comes the errors. If you want everybody 100% squeaky clean, never ever resigning, my golly, you're going to get a very, very mundane, dull set of politicians, and they won't have skill set needed to lead.
Before we go to the next two imperfect people, let me just say, one of the things I advise reform, if you're watching, Nigel, is to stop trying to find saints as candidates. If you want to be governed by saints, you got to wait for the second coming. Much better if you do what Mark Oaten has just said, accept that the best politicians have the humility of sin. They understand that we make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and embrace that. Suddenly, there'll be about 65 million people who'd like Reform UK and 5 million sanctimonious so-and-sos who still vote Labour. For once we agree, Mark. This is an exclusive.
It is. And I thought I was going to be Dr. No today, but no, there you go. I'm agreeing with you.
Do we agree, though, that the next two imperfect but high caliber people in many ways, I would say, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, have done a great thing by agreeing to meet in Alaska? Now, if you're watching the rerun, that's different. But the great thing about these two is that they actually pretty much rule the world together with Xi Jinping. I'm wondering if... Go on.
You say it's a great thing they're meeting, but I mean, when I look at those images that we've just got up on the screen now, I worry enormously. Putting the two of these highly egotistic, very, very emotive individuals in a room together, this could be a real disaster. If this goes wrong, there's not a lot of rowing back. If these two clash in the way that we know that they can clash, and they do not find a way forward, it'll be very, very hard to see how things can come back again from a very, very bad meeting. So the stakes are high. It has to work, because failure, and very public failure, could have very dire consequences.
I think it's a success that they're meeting at all. I've been praying for this meeting for so long. I was, by the way, tremendously naive, and I'll give you this one for free, because I thought that Trump would really stop the war in 24 hours, this beautiful thing, but he didn't do it. Let's admit that I got that wrong. But the fact that Trump and Putin, who have a good chemistry, let's not pretend, a chemistry almost as good as ours, are sitting in a room talking about a war started essentially by American foreign policy in Ukraine. You probably disagree with that. And Putin, who's just following his promise. He warned that this would happen if we ignored the border concerns of Russia. If those two people in a room, we've got a great opportunity to de-escalate the situation. It's no accident that this barely reported fact occurred after Witkoff, who's one of Trump's lackeys, went to Moscow to talk to Putin. There was no bombing at all for a while in Kiev. Now, I think that was a message from Putin to Trump saying, I take you seriously, Mark.
Look, I agree that jaw is absolutely better than war, and it's good that the two are meeting. My issue is twofold, I think. The first is that because of the toxicity of the individuals and how they don't listen to briefs. They are very, very impulsive. That the risk is hugely high that something could go badly wrong. And the second issue, and it's the, if you like, the elephant in the room or not in the room, is Zelensky. You know, you're talking about the fact that warring countries, Russia should have peace negotiations with America? Hang on a minute. They're not at war with America. They're at war with Ukraine. And the fact that Ukraine are not potentially at the table is worrying as well, because they ultimately have to have face in this. You cannot have Trump. You cannot have Trump imposing a peace deal on Ukraine unless Ukraine are on board with that, because there lies another risk that the European countries and NATO, albeit that they're very, very weak indeed, will also want to side with Ukraine. So there's a lot of reasons why it makes sense to have Zelensky in some form part of this meeting.
Rubbish. The guy's... Do you know what the guy is? Do you know what his profession is?
The leader.
He's a comedian. Mark, he's a comedian. It was rhetorical. I didn't want you to answer it, really. I wanted to... Give me a moment to have a rant. Give me 20 seconds. Then you can interrupt me. He's a clown. He's a professional clown, professional comedian. He used to play the piano with his private part. That was his party piece on television. Don't check that with me. Check it on the internet. You'll find it. And suddenly he dumps himself into politics, or was dumped into it. He's a puppet, in my view. And we think that guy should be at the table with proper grown-ups. Give me a break, Mark.
Well, firstly, I hope that Moose hasn't got a clip of that particular allegation that you've made about Zelensky, because that will be too horrendous for words. But you're actually saying that this guy is not fit to be leading a country. You're saying this guy is not fit to be able to enter into negotiations, discussions with somebody like Trump, who himself, frankly, has got less credibility, in my view, than Zelensky, given all of the various allegations and things that have been proven against Trump.
Oh, allegations. You know about allegations. I know about allegations.
The only
really?
thing that
you want to go down that?
The only thing you can lay at Ukraine is that he played the piano with his penis. Then, frankly, I'd take that any day over some of the allegations that have been made against Trump.
You said that all wrong, Mark, but let's move on anyway.
I got piano and penis right. Which bit did I not get wrong? It was all the right notes, just not necessarily in the right order.
Classic Morecambe and Wise. Older viewers will understand that one. Let me get back to why I think you are completely, utterly wrong about this. The comedian, Volodymyr Zelensky, goes into politics and carries on clowning around. I won't go into the whole military history of it. You need to speak to a chap called Warren Thornton, who incidentally, here comes a shameless plug for the station, will be joining us quite soon. WarrenThornton.com will be joining us as well. But he has made it absolutely clear that the performance of Zelensky has been nothing less than utterly tragic and fatal for probably something like 1.8 million Ukrainians. The guy's a joke. Everybody knows that Ukraine is just feeding the world with arms because of the corruption. So bad that Zelensky himself tried to stop the independence of the corruption investigations. Why would you want to let a man like that go into a meeting with Trump and Putin? When he walks up, but when he walks out, Trump will say, "Where's my wallet? Have you got your wallet?" This is the problem. And by the way, it's mouse, not moose. You've even offended our producer today.
I'm not having a very good day. Look, we cannot have, in my judgment, a settlement to this war, which I, of course, want, without Zelensky, Ukraine coming out of the situation with some kind of face. And that means also that the EU and NATO have to be on board as well. This cannot be just cooked up between Putin and Trump. It has to be wider. You have to get wider engagement. Oh. If they start the process, okay, but they quickly need to indicate how they're going to bring in the other alliance of the willing, or whatever it was called, into this process as well.
Alliance of the Witless. Great news, Mark. Great news, Mark. Just to ram the point home, so to speak, I think the team has the clip. Have we got the clip? Tell me you got the clip.
Well, I mean,
now, you think that's becoming of a war leader? You think the commander-in-chief of a country should be able to do that? Really?
Well, look, some people would argue that Trump is a big plonker as well. So at the end of the day, it's even Stevens. But the point is that Zelensky should be in there as well. But look, I think it's time to hear from one of our sponsors before we go down the very, very dark alley of penises and pianos much longer.
You got the train.
On a jet plane, don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, babe, I hate to go, but I'm leaving on a jet plane. Da, da, da.
That has a remarkably calming influence on me. Let me tell you, slightly shamelessly, actually, that I was flying with Austrian back from Bulgaria recently, and it was absolutely sublime. It was so good. I wasn't that impressed with them some years ago, but they've upped their game so much. Have you flown with them? You must have.
I must have done. Sadly, have air miles with nearly all of the airlines, but I was just thinking that it was a very calming flight, and maybe there is hope that if Trump and Putin were to maybe fly with Austrian Airlines, they would arrive nicely calm and relaxed for their meeting in Alaska. Look, when we meet next time round, we will I'm sure go over exactly what happened, but there will be drama, there will be something dynamic. It's not going to be straightforward, that's for sure. But
you're not talking about Austrian Airlines there. You're talking about Putin and Trump. Absolutely. Let's be grateful to us, to Austrian Airlines. They're a wonderful airline. Got it, Mark? Do you agree?
Yes, thank you very much.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer.
They're fantastic, and I can't wait to fly with them next.
Okay, we're going to send you to acting school. Let's move on now. Rates, interest rates, the big zero, the big nothing here. A tiny little change. Nothing to do with Rachel Reeves, in my view.
No, look, this is complicated, and forgive me for being more boring than I normally am about this, because the Bank of England are treading a tightrope, and it was the closest vote there's been, I think, in history from the Bank of England since it was set up to set interest rates. They even had to move to a second vote to be able to get a result. There were those that said, look, things need to stay the same as they are because inflation is going beyond the Bank of England's target. And then there were others, in my view, quite rightly, that said, look, maybe we've put too much weight on this inflation target. There are other signs that the economy is just not growing. We need to get more money into people's pockets so they can actually start to spend, to create jobs, to create wealth. And they were the ones that were arguing that to get more money into people's bank accounts, you need to bring those interest rates down a bit. Now, there was a prediction that maybe there would be a couple more towards the end of the year. And I think that in his statement at the end of the meeting last week, the governor pretty well put the kibosh on that. You can see here at the press conference, he was asked questions about would there be a continuing trend? And he was very cautious. And I think he's wrong to be cautious. I think that this is a huge issue for millions of people, particularly those that had fixed mortgages of maybe 1%. They're seeing as they come off those fixed rates, their mortgages triple. And that means that their income that they have to spend is declining. This is a very, very difficult situation. And I think there'll be a lot of people watching who hope that the Bank of England are more flexible. They consider.
Can we just go back and just hear in this clip? I'm just wondering if the team can just rewind that and just play it, because I want to hear what he had to say. I'm not sure if you can do that, team.
Price and wage pressures have generally continued to abate in recent months, and that's allowed us to take another step today in reducing bank rate. But the picture is more complex than that. Headline inflation rose to 3.6% on the latest data for June, owing to increases in energy, food and administered prices. Now, we have been expecting this move up. Indeed, I referred to it at the last press conference we had in May. We think that inflation will increase to around 4% in September. Our job is to ensure that inflation falls back to the 2% target once these temporary factors pass, as we expect to see. So it remains important that we do not cut bank rate too quickly or by too much. Today's decision is based on three key judgments on the outlook for the UK economy and inflation, and our assessment of the risks around those judgments. So I'm going to set out each of these key judgments in turn, and then I'll conclude with the implications for monetary policy.
Yeah, I think basically I said the same thing, but just a lot quicker and in less of a dull voice. But look, it's
an amazing thing, Mark, when someone else makes you sound interesting.
It's also an amazing thing that I actually understood it, given that I haven't even got a maths O level. I tried 4 times and failed 4 times. But it's very simple to me. People are struggling financially because they're paying so much in their mortgages, or people are struggling because they're having to pay so much in their rent. Why are their rents going up? Because the landlord is having to pay more money in their mortgage. We need the interest rates to come down. And I actually do not believe that it is suddenly going to inflame inflation, and the government need to put some pressure on the Bank of England if they can, but they can't because it's independent. And that for me also questions whether or not the independence of the Bank of England is actually such a good idea after all, because we elect our politicians, but we don't elect the Bank of England. So as politicians and voters, we don't have a direct ability to be able to lobby and put pressure on the Bank of England to do the things that we necessarily want. That sounds to me a bit of a democratic deficit.
I totally agree.
What?
I've been saying, yeah, I know, I'm stunned as well. I totally agree with your politicization of the Bank of England. You couldn't be more right, because why on earth would anyone think it's smart to hand over the crown jewels of monetary control, which is interest rates, or one of the crown jewels, to a bunch of people like Mark Carney? It was preposterous. The Bank of England should be controlled by the government because the government's meant to run the country for us.
And
I totally agree.
And they're accountable. Whereas these individuals on that monetary committee that set interest rates and mortgage, I bet you, and I'd love to be proved wrong, I bet you amongst those panel, not a single one of them has probably got a mortgage. They don't understand. Whereas if it was
not a single one of them has defaulted on one, I bet.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But look, it's frustrating. It gets me worked up, and it impacts so many people's lives, mine included. And I just think it's something which the government and others are not talking about a great deal, largely because they don't have any ability to make it change.
Yeah, I would say that, to keep this in perspective, a friend of mine paid 10 quid for a large wine in a pub in London. £10 in a pub. Well, 0.25% of £10 is 2.5p, as he pointed out to me. He said the interest rate cut would take 2.5p off this glass of wine, and he wasn't very impressed. But the main problem I've got is the political one. They shouldn't have given away control. I think that is an unforgivable schoolboy own goal error. And if Rachel Reeves actually had any gumption at all, any understanding of it, she'd renationalize the Bank of England. But she's not going to do that, is she? Because she doesn't really understand economics, does she?
Or maybe it's convenient to not have to take the decision. Maybe it's convenient to actually say, oh, well, it's the Bank of England that do this. Although I note that the minute they take the interest rates down, she also tries to take some credit, saying that, oh, this is a sign Labour have got things under control. The minute the interest rates go up, it's, oh, nothing to do with us, it's the Bank of England. There's a hypocrisy there about how politicians hide behind the decisions the Bank of England take. But we'll know more in the next meeting, which I think is going to be in a couple of months' time. I suspect they'll hold interest rates, and I would be surprised if there's another cut this year, which is going to bring misery to many people coming off those fixed rates.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's the point. It's not like the 0.25% counts. If you're on a 1.7% interest rate and it just went up to 5, 0.25 is not going to really make a big difference, is it, really?
And we're
going to have to trash your car, but we kept the fairy dice for you. This is the thing. It's like ridiculous.
Did you have fairy dice in your car? I bet you're the kind of guy that did have fairy dice in your car, didn't you? Or did you have one of those car stickers at the top which said Lembit and... I mean, obviously, you'd have had to have changed the and quite a few times. But did you have that kind of thing? Lembit and... No, I could be cruel, but I'm not going to be.
Let he who is at blame cast the first stone, Mark.
I never
You
had
really
car,
wanted to go down this path?
I never had car stickers. Although actually, I tell a lie. I bought a Honda Accord from somebody, and they still had the car sticker left on it with their relationship. And it took me a bit of time to change that. Lembit, I apologize unreservedly. Maybe now's a good time to go to a little break so that we can both calm down.
Well, okay, let's talk about this next thing. Before to give us time to calm down a little bit and to soup you up with excitement, to use a car term. We are massively expanding here at Unprecedented TV, thanks to some great investors and your patronage. The more of you watch, you may not realize this, the more we have to work with. So please do share, do like, do repost, retweet, whatever you can do to help, as long as you think that this is worth doing. And then we can get even more presenters, even more shows. Unprecedented TV is getting very close to having a fixed schedule. You can probably see that because we've got all the elements floating around, all available in the archive, especially on Unprecedented TV YouTube. But here is a taste of things to come. Nice work by Moose and team. Moose. She's not Canadian, you know.
On my mind, I had a mousse au chocolat on Saturday night, and it was delicious. That's my only. I love that pure chocolate, fantastic. But, I'm sorry, Mouse.
Yeah, well, yeah, you should be. You could be cut out of the next show reel. What nice work, though. Well done, Moose and team. I think I might call you Moose from now on. It's quite amusing. Exactly. All of those come just on a note. All of those coming up, and that doesn't even include everything that's coming up. We're in negotiations with 3 other presenters as well, including a religious slot on Sunday for those that way inclined to pray for your wretched soul, Marco. But we might be praying for the soul of the next person who you wanted to raise. Probably most of our viewers will never have heard of her, but someone passed away who was important for people of our generation anyway.
Exactly. Biddy Baxter, as Lembit says, the name not be a household one, but for 25 years, she was the person behind a popular television program called Blue Peter. She started the program off, and it just got me reminiscing, thinking today about all of those childhood programs. Blue Peter was iconic, really. It went out 3 times a week. There weren't, back in the day, the numerous choices that you had. It was about the only program on at that slot for young people to watch when they got home from school. They had some crazy, weird experiences on there. They were the first TV program to have a pet that was part of the presenting panel. They had a policy which I think was really lovely, that they would give out Blue Peter badges for people that did good things, and they had hilarious misadventures with animals in the studios that ended up doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. They set fire to the studio once. But look, I think we got a little clip of Biddy Baxter in one of her last appearances on the show.
After so long, what's it like to sit up here in front of the cameras?
It's terrifying.
It is. Now you know how we feel.
I think you
putting
do
us
a
through.
marvellous job. I wouldn't have your job for anything in the world.
Now, you've worked on Blue Peter for 26 years, which is a long time to stay in a programme. What made you stay so long?
I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. And what I've really enjoyed most of all is making friends with all those viewers. It's a great feeling, as you know, to think you're friends with all the people watching. And I think we have been. I think we are.
Yeah.
One of the
you know what? So go on, Mark.
Every single person that wrote into Blue Peter, they didn't get a standard letter back. She had a huge department who would personally write back to every single child. And it was important because children at that age will remember that for life. So no, she was a great character, very, very tough. And yeah, it's a sad day.
What I was looking at there, Mark, was the innocence of the past. I absolutely love the proper English accents, the great grammar, unlike the complete trash you get now on BBC News and elsewhere, where they don't know when to use less or fewer. One of the presenters said something like, he's been accused of charges. It's pathetic. Back then, you could watch BBC's Blue Peter and you could learn the Queen's own English. And it wasn't just that. There was none of this dark wokeness. It was an innocent world that I could trust. I loved watching Blue Peter, and you've inferred it, but I'll tell it like straight. I think there was an elephant that pooed in the studio, or some animal did. Of course, every child loved that. And
I remember it. John, the zookeeper was holding on to the elephant. It did a piss and then it did a poo, and then the elephant moved and he slipped up in the piss. And John Noakes the elephant stood on John Noakes' foot. It was innocent, hilarious fun. And they used to do weird and wonderful things with sticky back plastic. They used to take a toilet roll, and for goodness sake, there was a 10-minute segment when they turned this toilet roll into some Thunderbird set or something like that. It was, as you say, Lembit, good, innocent fun. But what else did you watch at that age? Can you remember?
Well, yeah, I watched quite a lot of the children's programming. John Craven's News Round was one that I used to watch. I loved the Clangers, and I'm glad to say my 8 and 4-year-old my children watched the updated version, which is almost as endearing as the. And I'm very obsessed with space, and I just loved the sweetness of the stories, the happy ending message from each one. I think that we really have. Let me take a step back there. This is what older people say, but I do believe we really have lost some of the innocence of youth. Why? Because, and I'm going to make a political point, because the repulsive obsession with woke in schools and in right onness and all this other stuff. In Blue Peter, you had wonderful, good old British values with people who really cared. Bibi Baxter, the unknown behind the screen, the lady that we just saw the clip of there. What a wonderful, warm-hearted person. I believe every word that she said. What's happened? Why have we stolen the childhood of people now?
Well, but it wasn't as innocent as you make out, was it? Because there was always, do you remember Captain Pugwash and Master Bates? And then there was Zebedee with its like strong references to drug taking. So even at the time, on the face of it, they were innocent, but somebody was having a little laugh in there. So the adults.
But Mark, well, I was watching Captain Pugwash, Captain Black and Roger the Cabin Boy. I just saw it as a cartoon. And the reason for this, and you're talking about the Magic Roundabout, Dylan, and the Herbs and all that. Basically, that's because it was a transition program from the children's programs to the news. But you always have to be the cynic. You always have to find the dark side. For me, it was innocent fun. Camberwick Green, Chumpton, I love those. Chigley, do you know why they took Hector's house off? Hector was a dog, and he had Kiki and Zaza, I think, were the two cats he knew, and he used to go over the fence to see Zaza. Do you know why they took it off?
I don't know. What happened to Hector?
Because he was a bigamist. I think that's why they took it off. I mean, come on. There was only inferred. And then we had the Wooden Tops And then, of course, we had Bill and Ben, the flower pot man.
Bill and Ben. I mean, we are a bit like Bill and Ben ourselves. I sometimes feel, Lembit. It's kind of the modern day equivalent. But there was also Fireman. Oh no, the next generation on is when you had kids yourself, and there was like Fireman Sam. Also, the guy this week who also died. Did you know this? Was the voice of Mr. Ben. He also died this week. But look, enough of reminiscing of the past programs. It's that time of the
By the way,
week.
Mr. Ben was one of my all-time favorites because he gave us lessons. And the point about it was Mr. Men. My kids loved Mr. Men. The point was it was gentle teaching. It was teaching values in a really gentle and lovely way. No swearing, no sexual motifs, no obsession with adult themes. It was just innocent. And that's what I think we miss now. I really do. And I grieve for those days, actually. And all because Bibi Baxter, who must have embraced the very same things that we're talking about now, saw the best in children, not the worst in society.
And
anyway.
As a parent, I can remember feeling very, very confident that we could let our children just switch the television on and watch Teletubbies or whatever it might be. I'm not sure if I was a parent now, with all of the onset of this and all of the things that are happening, I would feel so confident about being able to feel that free about what my children watch and listen to. And that is really, really sad. But anyway, look.
Just to go further, Moose, like Take Heart, Morph and Chaz, suggesting that could have drug connotations.
You see, Moose has also got a skeptical mind, just like me.
Well, I choose to see the best.
You are, Lembit.
Do we have to do, since we're on TV, I suppose we better do your lightweight, hey, we're fun guys to meet if you meet us socially bit of the show. What do you got? What are you watching on TV at the moment? I think we may have a trailer for it as well, but go on.
If they meet us socially, what on earth does that mean?
No one meets us socially anymore. We don't go anywhere. This is our society. Please watch us because you're our only friends.
You're in that studio all day long, for goodness sake. Listen, it's another Alison Steadman masterpiece. I absolutely love her in everything she does, right through from the 70s to that wonderful play turned television drama, Abigail's Party, all the way through a career. Most people will know, obviously, for Gavin and Stacey. She now plays the rather hard of hearing mother in something called Here and Now, which is the story of a family in London. The teenage son has decided he wants to film every moment of the family, and that gives us an opportunity as the viewer to sort of see all of the interactions that go on. Dad has just become a policeman, but he's got no control over his family. It's got everything in there. It's gentle fun, and there's some really, really good funny moments. So it's called Here and Now, Alison Steadman, and it's actually not on one of the apps. It's on mainstream BBC.
I think we may have a clip of this. Have we got a clip?
So I just want to keep things super duper chill.
Those crocodile skin leggings?
Oh, croggins, yeah.
Sorry, this is what?
Granny's old house.
Yeah.
Wow.
And our kitchen was similar to theirs, actually.
Really?
Less, chicken.
Well, yeah.
I'm naturally quite a flexible person.
Oh. You're about to get the money shot.
I mean, it's so good. I even got the title wrong. It's Here We Go, not Here and Now. But you could just see
ridiculous. How could you get it wrong? You pretend you watch proper television, like entertainment. Here and Now. Here and Now. Here we go.
I muddle a lot of words and things up, and I do get into muddle over things. It's here and I've forgotten what it is already. Here and go. Here go. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
With Alison Steadman. She's absolutely wonderful.
3 words, 1 syllable.
I could think of a few syllables for you if you keep going on like that. Come on, let's hear what your one is.
Yeah. Incidentally, it shows how confident we are about replacing the mainstream media, that we're promoting some of their work, and if they want to put it onto Unprecedented, we're willing to talk with them for a fee. We'll oblige. This is something I came across late at night. I was actually editing, doing a bit of work for the station, and I was in the studio really late with the guys, and there's something on which I wouldn't normally have watched. It was on ITVX. I'm not 100% clear what that is, but it was something called Joan, and it seems to be set in the 1980s. I've only watched maybe a couple of hours of it, but it's about a woman in desperate, dire straits, desperate to make money, very pragmatic, likable woman, but going down a bit of a dangerous rabbit hole. I think we've probably got the name right and the trailer. Can we play that?
Promise me I won't lose her. It's been a tough day.
Oh yeah, what'd you do?
I'm a thief.
I think it's as good as the trailer. It's really, even now, I forgot we were on television. I was watching that, remembering a lot of the scenes I've already seen there, and it's just really unputdownable. Joan, the main character, is just a terrific actress, but the character is very engaging. You understand her predicament. One of those times when you forgive the sin, her crime belongs almost, and I haven't watched it to the end yet, so I can't say how it finishes, but I'm rooting for her, even though she's done some bad things.
It's good. It looks good. I like it. And it's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes you can get these characters that fundamentally do bad things, but actually can still be very, very likable. So, yeah, I will check that out. It's a good recommendation. Thank you, Lambert.
I won't be checking yours out. There we go.
Glad to hear it.
I'll look up Here and Now and see what I find.
I'm sure that's a film. That's a film somewhere. But look, I've learnt a great deal this episode, Lembit. So I thank you for that, particularly the reference to what a leader of a country at war could do on a piano. That was a breathtaking revelation.
Yes, yes. I have to say, great credit to the team for spontaneously finding that clip. Who knew? Anyway, thanks very much, everybody, for watching us here on Unprecedented TV. You can get us on X. You can get us on YouTube. We're going to be joining social networks too. And also, we love to get your feedback. If you like it, then like it. You know what to do. And even if you don't like it, but give us feedback as well. We love to have a dialogue with you. And we're going to get better and better at that as time goes by. Also, if there are things you think we should talk about, then let us know. Mark, you finally seem to have got up to the 21st century. Well, what's your handle? What's your social network handle?
My handle? I don't ride a bike anymore.
I think it might be at Mark Oaten. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, that kind of handle. So sorry.
You didn't know that was a handle?
I didn't know that was a handle. At Mark Oaten, that's where you find me on X, and you'll see little cute pictures of kittens, because we just had 7 kittens born, Lembit. And you'll see my adventures of doing my first ever antique sale at the weekend in the Boiling Hot in Frome.
Was it your clothes?
Honestly, I could sell your clothes. Actually, I couldn't sell your clothes. You wear the same shirt week in, week out. If you want nice, friendly stuff, then follow me on my handle, as it's called.
I got 10 shirts all the same. And you can get me at Lembitopic. I'll make sure that's on the screen for next time. You are most welcome to give us your feedback, good and bad. But please do share, please share, please share, and please like, because that's how we build this station and these programs. Thanks ever so much to the team, especially Moose.
Mouse.
Oh, at last, hooray. Yeah, and thanks to us. I'm Lembitopic.
And I'm Mark Oaten.
And this was Lib and Let Die. See you soon.